After I graduated, I took some time to travel out of my small hometown and see the country. I'd always been timid, so I thought it was time I became more adventurous. A month or so into my travels, I happened through a quiet town whose name, for some reason, seemed vaguely familiar to me, though I couldn't have explained why. I left my motel room in the late morning to enjoy the cool breeze and the reddening leaves when a certain storefront along the town's main street caught my attention. At the sight of the folding sign out front saying, "Ear cleaning service," with a picture of a cute girl on it, I felt my cheeks flush and I looked around to see if anyone I knew was watching. Of course, I was visiting a town I'd never been to before in an area of the country that was new to me, so there was no reason to fear discovery, but even still, old reflexes die hard. Of course, nobody was watching, nobody cared. In fact, the furtive looking around was certainly more suspicious than if I had just walked right in the door. So I took a deep breath and did so, hearing the faint jingle of the bell as I crossed the threshold. Inside, the scent of eucalyptus and citrus met my nose, some sort of essential oils in the air. There was a small waiting area where I was alone, and beyond it, a cute girl behind the reception desk. She welcomed me with a smile and said, "Good afternoon. I don't believe I recognize you. Is this your first time?" I flinched at being addressed so immediately and directly while I was still taking in the scenery, but I stepped forward and nodded with a gulp. "Yes, I was just looking around. So, what services do you offer here?" The receptionist's laugh was as tinkly as the bell above the door. "The usual sort of thing you'd expect. We offer therapeutic ear cleaning with Japanese mimikaki, as well as ear massage and a hot towel." She lowered her voice conspiratorially. "All courses include a lap pillow, of course." I felt my face flush hotter, but forced my voice to remain as professional as I could. "I see. That sounds very nice." I glanced at the chalkboard behind her, where the prices were scrawled in a barely legible hand. What sort of girl failure wrote this down, I wondered. Well, it'd be too rude to ask in case it was her. So instead, I spoke up and said, "I like the sound of the 30-minute course. I'll do that." After I paid, the girl led me down the hall to a small carpeted room with a curtain over the window that let in gentle autumn sunlight without all of the heat. "Have a seat right here and your therapist will be in shortly," she said with a wink. I waited for a few minutes in tense anticipation. What exactly was this experience going to be like? I'd always dreamed of getting service like this, but never thought it was a realistic opportunity in my small town. Now that I was out traveling, it seemed almost unbelievable that a random American town would just have a place like this outside of something like a city's little Tokyo. I guessed it was just a stroke of amazing luck. And if things turned out well, if it went nicely, perhaps I'd need to make sure I stopped in at this place again on my future travels. Then the door swung open on wonderfully quiet hinges. The girl who stepped through was tall, slender, with long dark hair going down her back and wearing a seafoam green yukata. "Welcome, master," said a voice that was confusingly familiar. Then I saw her face. "Alex?" I gasped, springing to my feet in confusion. She looked at least as taken aback as I was. "Hey, what the hell are you doing here?" Her pretty face went pale as she realized she just cursed in front of a customer, but her hands were full with a tray of tea and supplies, so she wasn't able to cover her mouth in confusion. Instead, she glanced furtively over her shoulder as though to see if anyone had noticed. Then she whirled back around. "Here, take this," she hissed, and shoved the tray into my hands so she could shut the door. A minute later, we were both kneeling on the ground with the tray between us. Any observer might have been forgiven for thinking nothing was wrong, unless they'd happened to see the angry expression on the face of my childhood friend and the sheepish expression on mine. "I don't believe for a second that story about you just happening to be coming through here," she snapped. "This place is so in the middle of nowhere. There's no chance you just happened to be in the same town as me." "Believe it or not," I said, "that's the truth. It's not like I'm stalking you. I'm truly just as shocked as you are. Besides, it's not like I picked you out of a photo book or anything. I've never even been here before, and they just sent me into this room. Don't you dare act like, why would I ever want to come to a place like this or anything like that. I've seen your deviant art. You like much weirder stuff than I do. Or at least you used to. Has that changed? Now the heat of anger on her face turned to embarrassment. You know what? Fine. I guess it probably is just a big coincidence. Weirder things happen every day. She glanced away. So I guess we should get to it then? I could hardly believe my ears. Really? You want to go through with it? You don't want to just request someone else? Surely it's super easy to do. I'm sure if we just explain the situation, they'd be happy to. Shut up, idiot, she snapped. We're not wasting anyone else's time because you felt like being so damn polite about it. Now get over here. She scooted around the tray, grabbed me by the collar, and pulled me, bewildered, into her lap. Her yukata smelled faintly of lavender. To be honest, Alex had always been a skinny girl, and even now her thighs weren't exactly the softest pillows in the world, but still they felt nice. And Alex wasted no time. She leaned over to the tray, picked up a mimikake, and got to work. I flinched as the smooth wood touched my outer ear, but I really had nothing to fear. This girl, who'd always been so clumsy and a little cruel growing up, had apparently learned at the very least enough self-restraint to be gentle with a paying customer. And well, we might be childhood friends, but in this moment, I was indeed paying her boss well enough for the treatment I was receiving. And so I closed my eyes as I felt the gentle tickling against the fine hairs and skin of my ear canal. To tell the truth, I knew that I didn't have much there to clean. I was so addicted to using Q-tips that nothing stayed around for very long, but for the sake of the service, that apparently didn't matter. It really did seem like more of a relaxing massage than anything. The mimikake brushed a particular patch of skin, and a rippling sensation shivered through my whole body. You hurt? Alex asked at once, freezing the mimikake where it sat. No, I said. Please, just keep going. I'll tap you if it hurts. I put my hand on her leg and squeezed briefly to show what I meant. And maybe that was the wrong thing to do, because now it was she who froze at my touch. After a long moment's pause, she said in a low voice, All right, and then kept going, her movements a bit slower this time. I could feel my ears flushing hard as she kept teasing and gently scraping at the skin. I recalled hazily an article I'd read about all of the nerve endings in the ear canal and how ear cleaning felt so good because it stimulated the vagus nerve, which of course was also stimulated during all sorts of other activities. Whatever the reason, I was feeling more and more lightheaded as she went. My childhood friend was so gentle that she wasn't irritating my skin at all, no matter how many times she tickled at the same spot. I could hear her whispering something, or maybe just muttering to herself, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. At some point, I think I was drifting off to sleep because the sensations I was feeling, the sounds I was hearing, were melding in my head with all sorts of memories from my past. Summers running through the woods with Alex and laughing at funny bugs and mushrooms we found, or sitting indoors on stormy days and eating snacks while watching a movie, all snuggled up together on the couch. I remembered the day she left town with her parents, promising to be back to visit soon, and how, in all the years after that, she'd only visited once. And I felt a tear rolling down my cheek as I realized how much I'd really missed this girl, as bratty as she'd always been. Nobody else had really been my friend like she had, and now it was just random chance that had brought us back together again. Pure chaos, randomness, chance, had done what I could never do on my own. And why had that been? I'd always been too busy to reach out. That's what I'd always told myself, but in truth, hadn't I really been afraid of what I'd learn if I did? Afraid that my friend would have made a wonderful new life for herself somewhere else. A new life with new friends, people she was as close to as she'd ever been close with me. Was I just afraid that I'd learn that I was replaceable? That I'd been replaced? That there was nothing more for me to do? And then I realized that the ear picking had been done for some time already. There was a soothing hot towel draped over my face. You asleep? Her voice came whispering from above. I said nothing and remained still, not wanting the moment to end. "Good," she said softly. "I could never say this to your face, but I have been so lonely. I'm so happy to see you again. Why'd you never call or even write a letter? I can't believe it. You're always too much of a pussy to do anything, but I never realized what that would mean in the end if I just left you to it. I've been trying not to let it bother me all this time, to just move on with my life now that I'm out on my own, but..." Her voice choked up, her body shifting under me, and her voice getting louder as, it seemed, she leaned her face down to me. She'd always been a petite girl, but even still a tingle went through me as I could tell she was pressing her chest into my shoulder. "So lonely," she repeated. "Whatever the reason, I'm happy you came to see me." And she gently turned aside a corner of the towel that was rapidly, as time passed, becoming less hot, and pressed her face close to my ear. Was it a kiss on the cheek? Did she settle her own face into my hair? I couldn't quite tell, hidden below the towel as I was, but I felt a new hot wetness on my skin and realized she was crying too, hotter and more profusely than even I. A minute later, Alex shook me to wake me, and of course I had to make a big show of pretending that I was still asleep. I sat up and yawned, a very genuine yawn, in fact, and thanked her for the service. "I hoped you liked it enough, you pervert," she said flatly. Her eyes were red and her face was puffy from crying, but she acted completely oblivious to her appearance. I didn't bother commenting on it, though I was sure that my own tears were visible in my features as well. "I loved it," I said. "It felt incredible." "Well, then you should come again," she blurted out and looked away. "I mean, you can ask for someone in particular if you really want, or you could just get whoever's available. Everyone's really good at it, so I guess it doesn't really..." And then I did the most courageous thing I'd ever done in my life. "He wouldn't have felt as good if it was anyone else," I said. "I want you to do it again. Can I get your phone number? I could ask when you're going to be working next time I'm here and want to do it. And I mean, like, maybe today we could go get dinner or something. I'm planning on leaving soon, but I want to spend more time with you, if that's what you want." Her expression froze as though she couldn't comprehend what she was hearing. Then her eyes went familiarly cruel and teasing, and as she opened her mouth, I was sure I was about to receive the same mocking that always came when I had, in times past, expressed some authentic emotion. Probably one of the main reasons I become such a damn coward in the first place. But then her expression collapsed. There was no better word for it. The tears came to her eyes again, and she now looked decidedly away. "Sure," she sniffed. "Here's my number." But as she reached for her phone, I stepped forward and hugged her, burying my face in the long hair falling about her neck. She was still taller than me, and I had to stand on my tiptoes, but I did it. "I'm sorry," I murmured. "I missed you so much, too." We stood there for a long time until the receptionist came to check that everything was all right. Whatever she'd expected to find, it was clear that she'd never anticipated seeing my dear Alex looking happy